I'm here today to talk to you about occasions. Going to kick it off with the standard quote from standard start for a presentation here. We believe Ben Franklin said this: when you're finished changing, you're finished. And the change that I'm going to talk to you about today is just changing the lens that you look through to figure out how to set up a micro market, for example, or just how to decide what new things to bring into your business. In today's world, a lot of times we look through the lens of a consumer. We look at demographics. We try to figure out, how do I please millennials and empty nesters and Gen Z, etc. We look at the world through that lens. There's differences between those people, and you need to cover for those differences. But underlying that is something that causes an even a bigger difference in choice, and that's the occasion that you're eating in. So when I say occasion, here's our illustrious definition of an occasion. So we're talking about an eating occasion. The key aspects of that occasion are the when and the where. So the when and the where drive that decision making even more than the fact that I'm 20 or 50 years old overall. And then who you're with then helps drive what you decide to eat, and there's going to be different reasons why you make those decisions depending on the occasion that you're in. So at Kellogg, we're in the middle of performing a proprietary study on different eating occasions. And this is our beautiful visual to show all day-wise what occasions look like. So this is a combination of both in-home and away-from-home occasions. The percentages you see goes from morning to the evening, with our nice little sunshine here transitioning as well. So those early morning bites, which is not truly a complete breakfast, make up 4% of occasions. And that's eating occasions, that's not dollars. Okay, so the overall break here on in-home versus away from home is about 75-25 for a number of occasions. And if you've seen some stuff where people spend money, ultimately away from home is now the majority of the dollars spent on eating, even though it's only about 25% of all occasions. But you can start early in the morning with early morning bite. Some breakfast occasions, whether you're by yourself versus with family, is a big difference in the occasion. Move into morning snack. There are occasions called lunch and dinner alternative. And these are areas where a consumer will say, this is lunch, but it's not a complete lunch. Lunch alternative has some different aspects to it that I'll go into a little bit deeper here in a minute. But when you hear things about snacking occasions increasing, NPD eating trends would say snacking occasions really are not increasing. That snack foods are growing, but it's because snack foods are becoming a larger part of meals like lunch and dinner. And I think they're coming through in this, what consumers think of as a lunch alternative and a dinner alternative. And that's really the driver of the growth in snack foods ultimately over time. The bars here, the dark gray and the 92 is the percentage of these occasions that are in home. The light gray is the away from home side. So you can see where, I'll jump to the next page, since we're dealing with mostly away from home space here in this arena, I've circled the ones that skew somewhat towards the away from home space. So that early morning bite, these lunch and dinner alternatives skew that way a little bit as well versus the main meals. And I think these lunch and dinner alternatives is where micro markets maybe has an opportunity to think about themselves, even though they're selling snack foods, for a lot of people that's a lunch overall. So now I'm going to zoom in on away from home occasions. So when you only look at away from home occasions, that morning bite becomes 5% of the total instead of 4%, for example. The morning occasions is a little bit under a third, so that 29 goes right up to lunch. Most of the away from home occasions are lunchtime right up through dinner, so that's about half of them. And they tail off a little bit at the dinner time. So this is a pure away from home look at how people eat throughout the day. So now I'm going to dig into a little bit of the why behind specific away from home occasions. So one why is going to be what we've netted out to something we call pleasure. And when we say that, we mean things like treat and reward, relax and unwind. Those are things that make up what we might call pleasure. And one thing you see right away throughout the day, so it goes left, right, morning to dinner, pleasure becomes more and more important. So by the time you get in the evening, you've lost all your discipline and you're all in on ice cream and cookies, etc. So that why changes throughout the day. And I think this is a more dramatic difference than your age, because this is true whether you're 20 or 80. What you choose, your specific choice for that pleasure might be different because of that age, but this is the real driver of what you're doing at that time of day overall. The other interesting thing that I see is early morning bite. You'll see that pop a little way higher than the other morning occasions. So in the morning, people are going to be a little more health focused, but for this quick early morning bite that is not a real complete breakfast, but it is getting me going in the day, people point to that as a relaxing or unwind moment early on. So from a micro market perspective, there's going to be ways that you can create just points of reference to say this is a relax and unwind solution for you and early in the morning overall. Definitely sticks out. For the other thing that pops here that's obvious, already talked about, bedtime snack, evening snacks, it's a treat and a reward, pops way above everything else. So obviously during the night, you're having at it. Here's digging into convenience. Convenience is a why for that away from home occasion. Throughout the day, convenience becomes a little bit less important over time. You'll see things like the big difference between lunch and lunch alternative, dinner alternative. This is the big driver between those occasions that a consumer would see. Lunch and dinner, I have time, I'm not in a rush, this is a real lunch. Well, I'm going to call something lunch, but I just need something more convenient to go. And obviously this is where an area where micro markets serve quite a bit in vending as well. Now let's jump to health. Everybody thinks everybody's eating healthier, but that's not always true. Overall, you'll see, for example, the lunch and dinner versus the alternatives. Health is just simply less in importance when I want something quick and easy, but I'm still going to call it a lunch. So if you're serving some things that are in that lunch and dinner space, you can pay a little more attention to nutrition and health. That matters when it's truly a meal. But for the most part, on that alternative side, where a lot of snack foods come into play, the health piece of it's just going to be less important than it is for that main meal. And you see the same thing for the early morning bite and the breakfast for one as well. So I think this is where micro markets have an early morning bite, lunch alternative, dinner alternative. That's an area where you absolutely serve. All right, so those are some of the whys behind some of the away from home occasions. Now let's look at some of the SKUs for what. This is a big, hairy number chart, so I try to zone in on a few things here. I've zoned in on the occasions that are these more snackable occasions. So this does not show lunch or dinner, but more the morning, afternoon, and bedtime snack. But what you'll see here is that cereal, bars, bites, yogurt, fruit and veggies, they skew towards the morning. These are, on average, more health-conscious foods than what you'll see throughout the rest of the day. Now, that early morning bite, cookies does skew high. So for some people, cookies really early in the morning, something really quick, helps them get going, relax, or unwind, presumably like a cup of coffee does overall. But cookies are admissible at that time of day for some folks, especially in an away-from-home context. When you move to the afternoon snack, after work and school bite, things like salt, all the salty stuff, nuts and seeds, sweets start to emerge in a bigger way towards the afternoon. So these types of products are what people want to grab on the go. And finally, in the evening, the bedtime late night snacks, sweets, skew real strong. The one that blows my mind a little bit are meat snacks indexing at a 300 late night. And I don't consider meat snack an unwinding, relaxing thing, but obviously a lot of people do. So gnawing on some jerky or something like that presumably works for some people to wind themselves down at the end of the day. So those are some of the SKUs for what people choose within the context away from home across some of the key snacking occasions. So that is a description of some of the key occasions throughout the day, especially away from home. So I think what you can take away from this, if you're a micro market operator, is think about the when and where for your locations. Think about when your traffic patterns are, what occasions you are serving, and I think literally that's more important to your set than a lot of your demographics. So you can figure out that health versus taste balance you need within your set based on those moments throughout the day that you think are most important for your individual set. What people choose within that then does vary by demographics, but pay attention to that occasion, pay attention to the when and where, and that can drive your set quite a bit. Taste, convenience, and health, different levels of importance throughout the day. That's why you want to understand how your traffic flow goes throughout the day. And overall, just remember that pleasure and taste still drives snacking. Don't overcommit on nutrition. I've worked with some big customers that have, say, way overspaced nutritious bars, and they jumped on what they thought was a trend, and now they're in the middle of ripping out 3 feet of shelving of nutrition bars because they just overcommitted to it. The world's not all transitioning to pure nutrition. Taste still rules. There's no doubt about that. Now, one thing I'll throw out here at the end is, if you do want to understand nutrition trends and you don't have access to all these big companies that do all these big surveys and everything else, something you personally have access to is something called Google Search. And what it can show is the search interest out in the public for different topics. So the example that I have up here around for a few nutrition trends, the yellow line is keto. So right now, keto, potentially a fad, we'll see. But right now, it has all the showings of a fad. Right now, this is 2014 on the far left, up to right now, search interest, keto is spiking like crazy right now. And you've seen maybe a lot of celebrities who have said that they're on it, they're tweeting about it, etc. So that explains this big interest. So people aren't just seeing it, they're also actively searching it out. That's what this shows. The more enduring trend in the blue is protein. So over time, protein continues to grow. The search interest year after year after year continues to grow. So protein, absolutely an enduring trend. Innovation-wise, we'll see what kind of delivery people come up with. Different type of proteins will get created. That will be capturing this enduring trend. The orange is gluten. So it had its rise at one point, even before 2014. It's not declining. It still exists, the market still exists, but gluten's just not accelerating anymore. So there's not going to be lots of growth in that arena, but it's still a piece of business that people should go after. There's money to be made here under gluten. The other example here is paleo. So paleo had its time, but you see a slow, steady decline within paleo. Its underpinnings is in protein, as is it with keto. So those things are a little more fad-like. Protein, though, absolutely enduring. And just from a timing perspective, the protein, when you see it dip, that's November, December. So people don't care about health in November, December. They're thinking about other things. And it spikes hugely every January. And each January, it's spiking up a tiny bit more year after year after year. So you can see the flow and how our consumers' thoughts go in terms of what they eat overall. All right. And that's what I had to share for you today.